Charlie Kirk was on stage at Utah Valley University talking about mass shootings when he himself was shot and killed. As I'm recording this, the shooter is still at large. The facts may shift here, but one thing is absolutely clear. America has a serious problem. Political violence is tearing at the seams of our democracy. And it's not just on one side, no matter what people may say on social media or in the culture. Extremists on both the left and the right have used it, excused it, and justified political violence. That's not a path to a healthy democracy. That's a path to disintegration. When violence becomes a tool of politics, we cease to be a nation of laws and start to become a nation of men with guns. Now, here's what I really want to do in this video. I want to talk about what this tragedy reveals about America's crisis. I want to call out the blame games, the social media war cries, and the politicians that are already trying to weaponize Charlie Kirk's death.
Those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals.
But I also want to say something personal, because while I generally disagreed strongly with Charlie Kirk on just about everything, I did admire one thing about him. He would talk to anyone, no matter their ideology. Anyone could stand up and debate him on any of these college campuses that he visited. That kind of dialogue is rare in our current public moment, and we need more of it. But I also want to discuss the elephant in the room here too. The problem that hangs over all of this, and that's gun violence in America. The same thing Charlie Kirk was discussing and debating when he was shot.
How many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
No one should be able to shoot someone from 200 some odd yards away. I know deer hunters are going to disagree with me, but there need to be more gun control laws. If we don't address the weapons that make these attacks possible, we're going to keep repeating the same problem and seeing the same outcomes over and over and over again. We're simply waiting for the next tragedy. So let's unpack what Charlie Kirk's murder says about American politics, what it says about our democracy and the choices that are in front of us to divide further or hopefully to heal. In the immediate aftermath of Charlie Kirk's murder, the first thing that you saw was finger pointing. Many Republicans immediately blamed Democrats. Some even called for war. They blamed the Luigi left, claiming that leftists are always the ones engaging in political violence. That rhetoric is not only wrong, it's dangerously wrong and poisonous. Anyone being honest with themselves and doing a comprehensive reading of the facts here knows that political violence is not a one-sided problem. Yes, there have been many instances on the left where people have excused, minimized, or even justified political violence. I don't want to sweep those aside. It's unconscionable and it has to stop. But at the same time, Republicans and people on the right aren't innocent either. The political right has a long list of moments where they either justified, excused, or dismissed political violence. Remember January 6th, where U.S. Capitol Police were beat up? Remember the ambush at Paul Pelosi's home by a far-right extremist who Elon Musk then got on X after just purchasing it and spread this baseless conspiracy theory to all of his followers that this was Paul Pelosi's lover? And then just 12 weeks ago, we had the murder of a Minnesota Democrat and her husband and her dog at their home, and the targeting of and attacks on other Minnesota Democrats by a far-right extremist. The guy was a Trump supporter and a regular consumer of InfoWars, according to his roommate. So this hypocrisy, this blame game of saying it's only the left or only the right, it's dangerous, guys. This is what I mean when I say that the cherry picking and politicizing of death has to end. Excusing violence when it suits you, but condemning it when it doesn't, it only adds fuel to the fire. And it's not just morally inconsistent, it's how democracy itself unravels. As I said from the start, it's how a society can quickly go from a nation governed by laws to one governed by men with guns. And at that point, vigilante justice reigns supreme, and anyone with a gun can enforce might making right. So let's pause to think about this right now, because you can probably already see the playbook. Many are organizing on the right to blame Charlie Kirk's death on liberal extremists. And that's before investigators have even a suspect, let alone all of the facts. President Trump himself even released a pretty disgusting video, if you're being objectively honest, blaming the liberal extremists before knowing any of these facts himself.
This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now.
We still don't know these facts as of the time I'm making this video. There's no confirmed suspect, no motive, or any definitive conclusion from law enforcement. That's not leadership by a president. That's pouring gasoline on a burning fire. And if we let this type of cycle continue, the blame, the excuses, the weaponizing, then we're not just arguing about policy, folks. We're paving the way for more bloodshed. But here's the absolute truth. No amount of bloodshed will ever bring Charlie Kirk back. It won't bring back Melissa Hortman or her husband. It won't undo January 6th or erase that from the history books. And it won't heal any trauma that Paul Pelosi still suffers from. What it will do, though, is drive us all deeper into the mud, where every act of violence is either weaponized or excused, all depending on who pulls the trigger. That's not justice, that's not democracy, that's a race to the bottom. So let's try something different, maybe something even radical. Let's condemn all political violence. No exceptions, no caveats, no matter who pulls that trigger. Because even if you vehemently disagreed with Charlie Kirk, like I did, even if you thought he was a fountain of misinformation that often dealt in bad faith and pushed an agenda that he knew was cherry-picking facts, none of that matters right now. None of it. What does matter is that a man with a family, with friends, with followers, with a lot of people who loved and respected him, died for participating in democracy. The only decent response in this moment is to express condolences for him and his family, and to call out loudly for unity, as the young Republicans and the young Democrats did in Connecticut. We need more of that. But I don't want to just be critical about Charlie Kirk, because as I mentioned, there is one thing that I really admired about him, and that's his willingness to talk to anybody, no matter where they fell on the political spectrum. That's something that America today desperately needs more of. Charlie Kirk believed in showing up, in debating, in engaging. And while I rarely agreed with his arguments, I greatly respected his willingness to walk into the marketplace of ideas and challenge others with the viability of his policy positions. That's a quality that we've lost in American politics. And if we truly want to heal, we need to rediscover it. Because if we don't, if we let cancel culture prevail, or if we let our sensitivities or offended natures prevail, and we silence speech, and we don't engage with the other side, American democracy doesn't strengthen. It weakens until it crumbles. And that's especially true in a culture where somebody can easily access a gun and be 200 yards away from someone, pull the trigger, and end their life while they're debating in that open marketplace of ideas. Gun violence isn't an abstract debate anymore. Even on that same day that Charlie Kirk was murdered, there was another school shooting. There are so many mass shootings in America that we can't even keep track of the number anymore. Gun violence is the fuel that makes political violence so lethal. And until we address it with better, just baseline, basic controls that apply nationally, whether it's reasonable background checks, red flag laws that flag when somebody might be a high-risk candidate for a gun, or just basic licensing requirements like we do with cars. If we don't do any of that, we're just waiting for the next tragedy to happen. We're just waiting for the next Charlie Kirk. So the real question is, will we just continue tearing each other apart, or will we use the death of Charlie Kirk and so many others that fall prey to political violence or mass shootings and Do something positive? Will we learn to honor life, protect democracy, and rediscover the art of talking across the political divide? So in the end, where does this leave us? A political commentator is dead. His family is grieving. His children will grow up now without their father, and his wife will be without her husband. His supporters are shocked, and the rest of us are left to choose. Do we keep spiraling deeper into our divisions? Or do we decide that the cycle of violence ends here? Because make no mistake, the attack on Charlie Kirk is not an attack just on him. It's an attack on all of us. It's an attack on our democracy, and it's an attack on our ability to disagree without the fear of being silenced by a bullet. If there's anything we should take away from Charlie Kirk, it's that we shouldn't build walls up around our beliefs. We have to be willing to talk across those walls and to engage people that we disagree with. But that conversation alone isn't enough. We also need action. If we want to stop these tragedies, we need to address the realities and the dangers of gun violence. Having more guns than people in America and having such easy access to guns is not freedom. It's a proven recipe for chaos that keeps repeating itself time and time again. Real democracy requires not only open dialogue, which Charlie was so good at, but also common sense limits on weapons that make political violence so easy to execute and so deadly. In these next few weeks, I'm sure the tensions will only continue to rise, both online and in person. So you need to ask yourself, before jumping into the fray, are my words and actions helping to heal this country or further dividing it? Am I promoting democracy or undermining it? We need unifiers in this American moment. We need people willing to speak with humanity, demanding decency, and protecting every human life, even those we disagree with the most. That's the only way we get through this, folks. And that's the only way that we'll keep the country that we claim to cherish.